All right. We are on I Am That by Sri Nisargadatta Maharaj. We are on chapter 48, Awareness is Free, and we're about 2 pages into it. And the question this morning from our trusty inquirer is, to do what you tell me, I must be ceaselessly aware. Oops. Here comes Vinod. So I must be ceaselessly aware, and that's exactly right. Ceaselessly aware of what? Ceaselessly aware of being aware, right? Being aware means to pay attention to the end of the stick that you're holding. Pay attention to who's watching your mind, who's asking your question, who wants to know who you are. So be aware at that level. Always know what the mind is thinking. And it's amazing. This has been a real trip for me in the last couple of years in the amazing things that I catch myself doing. Things that used to just skate on below this ice of awareness where I just wasn't really aware of what was going on. I really am coming slowly to a point where I'm seeing all of my faults before they manifest. How the structures, the thoughts that lead to them, how they skittle around the mind undetected most of the time because we only deal with stuff that makes us move, right? That inspires an action usually. Those are the thoughts we're looking for. But those thoughts that are just scurrying around the mind, like mice in the kitchen at night, when you're not watching, when you're not paying attention at that level, those things that are eating all of your bliss and, devouring your inner peace, you begin to see them and you realize, wow, I've got a real mouse problem that I didn't realize was there. And because as our minds get more and more subtle, as we start to pay more and more attention, we see these things, and you can then have an option of engaging with them or not, right? Just once you see them, like, oh man, there you are. No, no, of course you can't do that, right? And so we clean up the mind. And so to do this, we have to be in a state of constant awareness, which is our natural state. I mean, we're aware, conscious beings. So it should be quite natural for us to not be sleepwalking, that we do live very purposefully, very consciously. I guess that would be the word. More than purposely, more consciously. All right. So to do what you tell me, I must be ceaselessly aware, Maharaj. Well, to be aware is to be awake, right? And that's what we all think we are. Unaware means asleep. You are aware anyhow. You need not try to be. What you need is to be aware of being aware. Be aware deliberately and consciously. Broaden and deepen the field of awareness. You are always conscious of the mind, but you are not aware yourself as being conscious. Right? So you see the distinction there. It's not just being aware of just random things. It's being aware of the very source. You're at the gate. When you're aware of your awareness, you're going to see every thought that comes in and out. If you're aware of what you're thinking about at the other end, you'll only be aware of the thoughts that have to do with what you're thinking about. All the other ones will be scurrying like the mice we're talking about there. And so we want to place our attention on our own attention, our own ability to have attention, because that will guard the mouse hole. That's the bottleneck of all your thoughts before they come in and out of the hole in the wall, right there. So to be aware is to be awake. So if we're awake, we're aware. Unaware means asleep. You are aware anyhow, right? Because you're awake. You're up and moving about. You're just not very broadly aware, right? So let me take care of this real quick. So I muted everyone, and if you need to or want to say anything, you're obviously welcome to do that. So be aware deliberately and consciously. This is the difficult part. Being aware deliberately and consciously, broaden and deepen the field of awareness. So be aware of more things, open up your breadth of awareness and the depth of your awareness inside, your deeper thinking, the thinking that's more habitual, that you haven't paid attention to in many, many, many years. And that's really where most of the sources of our problems are. We've got these old patterns that have just sat there. They've become part of the furniture. We don't even see them anymore. They're usually hooks and crooks. They're things that a particular emotion or a particular memory or a particular sensual feeling will hook into it and activate this series of actions that you long ago automated, right? It's just something that naturally happens. You haven't seen it happen. You haven't paid attention to it happening in years and years and years. And then you start doing these kinds of practices. And then one day you're just walking down the street and you catch it. You're like, whoa, mind, what was that? And you catch one of the first thoughts in a series of thoughts that leads you to one of your deepest attachments, one of your biggest problems. And you're like, wow, gosh, I wondered how I got to that place. Now you see, now you know how the mind slowly works itself, because it's learned to do it with a certain amount of stealth, right? Because we've been guarding against our bad thoughts for a long time. But our subtle desires, the ones that are also automatic, that we're also not really in control of, they still insist on happening. And so they go into stealth mode. They're like, oh, we'll give him this idea. That doesn't offend him usually. No, show him this. That's not big enough to catch his attention. You know, oh, go here, have that. And little by little, the foundation gets set, and then the trap springs, and boom, you're deep in attachment zone, unable to say no, struggling, trying, but being overcome because it was too late. You didn't see the mind as it was springing its trap, as it was setting its trap, right? Because in your mind, you were just doing what you wanted to do. So be aware of being awareness with deliberately and consciously, right? And so you deepen your awareness, you broaden your awareness, and this gives you a sense of life, a real sense of being. This awareness of awareness, this truly being in the moment. You'll be amazed at how much power you find in yourself in that state in the moment, how absolutely controllable the mind is by your just moving your awareness, or lifting your awareness from one thing to another in your mind, but doing it consciously. Questioner, well, as I can make out, you give distinct meanings to the words mind, consciousness, and awareness. Maharaj, look at it this way. The mind produces thoughts ceaselessly. Okay, so it's an organ that secretes thought. So it's doing it all the time. Even when you do not look at them. When you know what is going on in your mind, you call it consciousness. All right, you're conscious, you're aware. This is your waking state. Your consciousness shifts from sensation to sensation, from perception to perception, from idea to idea, in endless succession. Then comes awareness, the direct insight into the whole of consciousness, the totality of the mind. The mind is like a river, flowing ceaselessly in the bed of body. You identify yourself for a moment with some particular ripple and call it my thought. All you are conscious of is your mind. Awareness is the cognizance of consciousness as a whole. Right? So you're watching the mind. This is the impression I always get from the writings of Vivekananda. It's that he's, even when he's talking about particulars, you always get the sensation that he's still got his eyes on the horizon. He never forgets his place of where he's thinking, of where he's investigating. He's always got a view of the whole harmony, the way everything is working together, the way everything affects everything. And so this is what he's talking about here. It's like to be conscious is thinking about particulars in the mind, paying attention to areas of thought and processes of thought. But awareness, awareness is lifting out that particularity and kind of seeing the whole scape and just putting a sense of detection out there so that you're aware of anything that happens anywhere, right? No matter how small it is, anything that pops up in awareness gets your attention, right? Watching from afar. When you know what is going on in your mind, you call it consciousness. This is your waking state. Your conscious shifts from sensation to sensation, right? So your toe hurts. Oh, you think about that for a second. So you wiggle it. Oh, it's fine. You move on. Oh, what was that itch on my elbow? Then you go and investigate that, and then the doorbell rings and you listen to, was that the doorbell or was that my phone? Right? And it's just, you're just led. You see how we get led. And this is one of the things that's quite startling about awareness is we begin to understand that we're led. That all of our desires, all of our attachments are like putting a harness on us. And we're just led around through the day, one sensation leading to the next, right? One memory leading to the next. That alarm goes off, you roll over. Ah, what's the first thought? Oh, I got to go brush my teeth, right? So you sit up. Oh, the slippers. Yes, they're right there by your feet. So on they go. So walk into the bathroom, brush your teeth. Oh, yes. Well, if you brush your teeth, you obviously have to go to the bathroom. Now you go to the bathroom. Oh, that's finished. There's the shower, right? It's just one thing after another, just leading you along, and you're kind of half asleep in all of it, just half doing. You get in that shower, feel the warm water, you start to wake up, and then what's on your mind? Oh, I have to get breakfast. Oh, right after breakfast, I have to get Susan that thing. Oh, I can't forget that box of books in the car. I have to deliver that, right? And so little by little, just the day begins. But you haven't yet thought about your life. You haven't yet thought about your place in the divine universe. It's still all the little things that are leading you from one thing to the next through your day, just stringing you along, serving body, serving mind, right? Carrying on. And what we want is a moment where you stop before you step into that shower to get to that to-do list. You just stop, take a deep breath, and just send out your awareness of life. I'm alive. I'm human. I can love. I can see love today. I can build a life. I can strengthen. I can encourage. And you just become aware of your superpowers and become aware of being and just open to the possibility of all the things you haven't thought of yet because they weren't right next to your feet or right in front of your nose. And you expand your awareness to fill up, to be a whole human being, right? And then to live life not from a little string of mouse kernels that are appearing to you as your feet touch different things and your hands touch different things, but a light of awareness that's inspiring you to love whatever's in front of you. And so you notice what's in front of you, not to use it, but in order to love it, right? And so then we expand.
Maharaj, I have a question.
Yeah.
So is what is he describing is the same as witnessing, is
Yes.
being a witness, a sakshi?
Yes. Being the witness, being aware of awareness, being aware of watching.
Mm,
So most of the times we're watching the mind, or we're always watching the mind, but we're not aware of watching the mind. What we're aware of is what we're watching,
right.
the thoughts in the mind, the particulars in the mind. And so we get entangled in the particulars. But if we had just been watching, the mind, then we could have seen it with much more objectivity.
So yeah. So these thoughts that come are, in one way, they are your sanskaras, right?
Yeah,
And
they
the
can come from a
constant flow of
lot.
thought.
Yeah, they'll come from usually the first thing that starts them most of the time is the senses. You'll see, hear, taste, touch something that excites a thought, and usually that thought that's excited is a samskara because it's been touched before, and so it's a familiar touch, and you're like, oh yes, coffee. That's what I'm doing, right? And so yeah, so it's
Maharaj,
samskaras. Uh-huh.
we, yeah. Also, these you were talking about, that I have to do this, I have to do this, I have to talk to the front desk to get my iPad going so I can watch a Zoom class. It has to be done.
No, it does have to be done, but that doesn't mean it has to be the only thing you think of.
Well, how did you? Where do I put it, the love part in?
Well, you stop for a moment, and instead of being the mechanic that's going through and doing all of these mechanical things in a row, stop for a moment and remember you're a human being, and remember you're alive, and remember that you're free, and remember that you're made of love, that the purpose of your life is love, and remember that you're wise, and open up and turn on that wisdom and get it primed for the day, and stretch out and feel your being. Look around the room and notice it. Notice your environment. Notice the nurse when she walks in. Just don't let her become a part of the furniture. Greet her nicely. Give her the love that you've got inside yourself. Mention that you appreciate that she's there, that you're glad that she's come today. You know, you just start like that. You
Thank
just
you
be
for
human.
that. This
Uh-huh.
really helps. When the maintenance person, Mr. Kim, came in, I thanked him and I really appreciated. He was the blessing of the day. So thank you
Yes.
so much. It's so helpful.
Yeah. Yeah. When your boat's flooding, when you're when your bed's floating in the middle of a stream, it's a good time to be thankful for maintenance. Yes, no, that's the way, though. See, we don't get caught up in our string of little stuff. That's where we live most of the time. That's why we're exhausted and uninspired and tired, because we're just living in this string of to-dos, this constant whatever comes in front of us and reminds us. Just go, do, 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 do. And what will save you from that is this periodic stop, breathe, expand. You lift your vision above the small trickle of the things that are doing, that have to be done, that are being triggered by your sensations, and open up and add an element to them. I do all of these things because I'm a whole person. I do all these things because they serve people, they serve me. I do all these things because I love, and I want to remember that and then do them with love, and not just to get them done, not just to move them out of my to-do list. All right, so we move our life off of the to-do list into the being list. Here I am. Present me with the world of opportunities. You know, I'll pick whatever I pick. I'll make something beautiful with it, and I'll pick something else. Right, and you carry on one thing at a time, always aware of your nature, always aware of the bigger picture, always aware of the things that make life beautiful, that you're free, that you're loving, that you
So,
are.
um, it's a good way to look at it, a being list, not a doing list.
Yes, yes, exactly. And bring in all the things that are important. Says the mind is like a river, right? Flowing ceaselessly in the bed of body. You identify yourself for a moment with some particular ripple and call it my thought. All you are conscious of is your mind. Awareness is the cognizance of consciousness as a whole, right? So the bigger picture, not the particulars. Questioner, everybody is conscious, but not everybody is aware. Maharaj, don't say everybody is conscious. Say there is consciousness, in which everything appears and disappears. Our minds are just waves on the ocean of consciousness. As waves, they come and go. As ocean, they are infinite and eternal. Know yourself as the ocean of being, the womb of all existence. These are the all metaphors, of course. The reality is beyond description. You can know it only by being it. That's a very, very, very uh, riddle-stricken statement right there. You can know it only by being it. You see, this is the difference. We've talked about this. When you would think that we would know what we are because we are it. We are it already. But see, we aren't what we are. We are only what we think we are. And that will be a very small subset because the mind can only describe you in very limited ways, right? And it will get you all involved in those descriptions. I mean, just look at the world, how involved with gender we are right now, how involved we are with sexualities, how involved we are with political identities, how triggered we are by all of these things. And we're reacting from all of those different states while still not being human, right? Still forgetting the bigger picture. And that's what has turned us into such mean people, right? Because we start arguing from the point of our political belief and not from the point of view of being a human being who has a political belief or political idea. We always need to go back to the bigger, to the greater. I'm divine by nature. These political ideas are much smaller than that idea. And so I get them in their perspective. I don't feel quite as triggered when I understand that there's a whole human being surrounding this that's much bigger than a politic, right? And so we keep our idea of ourself huge, enormous. I'm ultimately one without a second. That keeps us empowered, keeps us inspired, remembering the details of what I am, that I'm Satchitananda. That gives deep meaning to all the simple things you were going to do without remembering that. And if you do all those things without remembering that, that's when your life starts to feel small, starts to feel uninspiring. You start wondering, who am I? Why is this really what life is all about? Because of course it isn't. We have to give it the bigger context. The life is about being a human being, right? Life is about the expression of my nature. And that's much bigger. That makes many things much less important. The expression of love and wisdom. It gives life meaning then. The silly little things that I'm doing that are rote details become important because I remember the big. I remember the overarching energy of what I am and what I'm doing. Right? So don't say everybody is conscious. Say there is consciousness. Right? If you say everybody is conscious, you're still thinking about the particulars, the small aspects of conscious. Say there is consciousness. Become aware of the field. Become aware of the whole. In which everything appears and disappears. Our minds are just waves on the ocean of consciousness. So all of your thoughts are just the waves. They're just the particulars. Be aware of the depth. Be aware of the summation that brought you to this moment. Be aware of the sea of desires you've been following that have produced this moment for you. Right? As waves, they come and go. As ocean, they are infinite and eternal. Know yourself as the ocean of being, the womb of all existence, right? Keep that notion, that understanding that you are free and that this moment is 100% yours to form and to create with and to throw it out to the universe as an offering, right? Don't get stuck on the small. He says these are all metaphors, of course. The reality is even bigger. It's beyond description. You can know it only by being it, right? Not with a narrative of mind that by the time the mind figures out how to tell you something, it's had to whittle it down to time, space, causation. It's had to whittle it into a small little box that can fit in your mind. Being doesn't require that whittling down. Being, you sit in the knowing of what you are without a word, without a description, because it can't be described. And you're not concerned about that because what you're being doesn't need to be described. You are, and you just be. And you allow all those things, those amazing terms that have been just words in the past, to become amazing impetuses for beautiful action, for conscious action, for aware action, for action rooted in being. Questioner, is the search for it worth the trouble? Maharaj, without it, all is trouble. If you want to live sanely, creatively and happily, and have infinite riches to share, search for what you are. Beautiful, look at that. If you want to live sanely, creatively, happily, and have infinite riches to share, search for what you are. Right? Go inside in silence. Turn everything inward into an ear. Don't ask any questions. Just turn on your alertness to volume 10. Turn on the lights to 100 watts and just sit in the middle of who you are and be aware of everything that presents itself. And little by little, you come to know. While the mind is centered in the body and consciousness is centered in the mind, awareness is free. The body has its urges and mind its pains and pleasures. Awareness is unattached and unshaken. It is lucid, silent, peaceful, alert, and unafraid, without desire, without fear. Meditate on it as your true being, and try to be it in your daily life, as you shall realize it in its fullness. Right? So sit there. So identify with silence. You're not a thinking person. You're not a man or a woman. You don't have anything that needs to be done. You are silence. So identify with silence. I am silence. And desires, silence has no desires but for its continuance. Right? Just sit like that. The body with its urges, let them go. Identify them. See how it expresses itself. See how it's always trying to put things into your stream of awareness. But just watch it. The body has its urges. The mind, its pains and pleasures. So watch them for a while. See how it's presenting to you its string of pains, its string of urges, its deadlines, its realizations. Just watch it all. See it all. He said now he wants you to pay attention to awareness. Awareness is above that. It's transcendent to consciousness. It's awareness of the whole thing. Right? He says, and that's free. So that sets you free from your body, sets you free from the mind. It puts you into a new zone where there's no limitations, no restrictions. Anything is possible. It's lucid, right? It's aware of its being. It's aware of its awareness. It's awake. It's silent. It's not out of balance. It's not needing anything. It's not hungry. It's silent. It's peaceful. So it's proactively calming, right? It's not going out with any objectives. It's seeing what is, and it's noticing the harmony. It's noticing the oneness. It's alert, right? Anything. It's aware of anything that's happening. And unafraid. Unafraid, because it cannot be disturbed. It cannot be divided. It cannot be broken. It cannot be harmed. It's without desire and without fear, because it knows itself. It's infinite. There is nothing for it to fear, because it cannot be challenged. Meditate on it as your true being. That's who you really are. That's the source of some good laughter, some wonderful joy there, right? Meditate on it as your true being and try to be it in your daily life, and you shall realize it in its fullness. Mind is interested in what happens. Awareness is interested in the mind itself. Oh, there's a wonderful pointer, a concrete thing. So mind is interested in what happens. It's interested in the things that are flowing through it. Oh, yes, all of this, right? It's the dog jumping in the mud puddle, right? But awareness is interested in the mind itself. What's in there? The child is after the toy, but the mother watches the child, not the toy. Wonderful metaphor right there. The mother watches the child, not the toy. The child watches the toy, but the mother watches the child. Well, that's perfect. That's a great, great, great description. So mind is interested in things, doings, small stuff, the toys. But the spiritual self, the awareness, it's interested in the mind itself. What is the mind engaged with? What trouble is it getting into? Where is it running off to? What is it planning? Right? By looking tirelessly, I became quite empty, and with that emptiness, all came back to me except the mind. I find I have lost the mind irretrievably. Right? That thing which is interested in the change alone. That thing which is interested in the toys. He's lost it. Right? He has moved into awareness. So he sees everything now. He's not about the particulars. He's aware of all. And he's not reacting. He's responding from an inspiration provided by isness, right, in his being. Questioner, as you talked to us just now, are you unconscious? Maharaj, I'm neither conscious nor unconscious. I am beyond the mind, right? So that's what he just got finished saying. He's not playing with the toys. He's gone beyond the mind and its various states. So all of its changes don't interest him anymore. He realizes thoughts are thoughts. Yes, they change constantly, but they're still just thoughts. There's nothing of interest there to me. Right? I am beyond the mind and its various states and conditions. Distinctions are created by the mind and apply to the mind only. Right? So he's not making distinctions. He's not looking for differences anymore. He understood that that was a mindless endeavor of the mind itself, just to sit there constantly making distinctions between things. Distinctions are created by the mind and apply to the mind only. I am pure consciousness itself, unbroken awareness of all that is. I am in a more real state than yours. I am undistracted by the distinctions and separations which constitute a person, right? So he's not playing at that detail level like that. As long as the body lasts, it has its needs like any other, but my mental process has come to an end. Questioner, well, you behave like a person who thinks. Maharaj, well, why not? But my thinking, like my digestion, is unconscious and purposeful. If your thinking is unconscious, how do you know that it is right? Maharaj, there is no desire, nor fear to thwart it. What can make it wrong? Once I know myself and what I stand for, I do not need to check on myself all the time. When you know that your watch shows the correct time, you do not hesitate each time you consult it. Right? So he's saying there, once you know your nature, Satchitananda, very simple thing, then you know how to act. So act according to your nature. And then you do not have to constantly check in. Am I happy? Am I content? Am I doing okay? Am I depressed? Am I joyful? That will take care of itself. If you live according to your nature, you will be content. If you're living according to your nature, you will be fulfilled. Your life will have meaning. You won't have to keep checking in. You won't have to keep track of all your moods and all of those things, right? So if your thinking is unconscious, how do you know that it is right? Well, there's no desire nor fear to thwart it. What can make it wrong? Once I know myself and what I stand for, I do not need to check on myself all the time. When you know that your watch shows the correct time, you do not hesitate each time you consult it. Questioner, at this very moment, who talks if not the mind? Maharaj, that which hears the question answers it. Questioner, but who is it? Not who, but what? Maharaj says. I'm not a person in your sense of the word. Though I may appear a person to you, I am the infinite ocean of consciousness in which it all happens. I am also beyond all existence and cognition, pure bliss of being. There is nothing I feel separate from. Hence I am all. No thing is me. So I am nothing. The same power that makes the fire burn and the water flow, the same power that makes the seeds sprout and the trees grow, makes me answer your questions. There is nothing personal about me. Though the language and the style may appear personal, a person is a set of pattern of desires and thoughts and resulting actions. There is no such pattern in my case. There is nothing I desire or fear. How can there be a pattern? Wow, here we're getting something. This is tickling intuition. Right? To understand this, you have to go a little bit subtle. You have to sit and be quiet for a while to let this one soak in. Because he's saying some amazing, very important things here, but they are not things that are floating on the surface. Listen to this. Not who, but what. Right? So who is it that hears the question and answers it? Not who. It's not a particular. It's not a person. It's not a locality. Not who, but what. Right? What is it that answers your question that you ask? And now he says he knows that he's identified with that. You see, we identify with something lower, something smaller. So we identify with that and we believe that this thing gives us something, gives us answers, gives us questions, gives us the particulars, the toys that we're playing with, right? And that's where our mind stays. But he says, I am an infinite ocean of consciousness in which all happens. Right? So I'm aware that all these things are happening. The what's of them is not important to me. I may appear a person to you. I am that infinite ocean of consciousness in which all happens. I am also beyond all existence and cognition, pure bliss of being. There is nothing I feel separate from. Hence I am all. No thing is me, so I am nothing. The same power that makes the fire burn and the water flow, the seeds sprout and the trees grow, makes me answer your questions. There is nothing personal about me. Though the language and the style may appear personal, a person is a set of patterns and thoughts and resulting actions. There is no such pattern in my case, right? He's not doing any unconscious living. He's not just reacting to things that are prodding him forward, right? He owns himself. He's not just given over to slavery. There is nothing personal about me. No egoism. That's what no personal means. There's no ego in here. No collection of thoughts and ideas and descriptions of myself. I don't collect descriptions based on attributes, right? I select attributes that are presented through being. There's nothing I feel separate from. So he's going to love everything, going to have a positive attitude toward everything. There's no fear, so there's no defensiveness, right? He's not going to feel challenged if someone corrects him. He's not going to be offended if someone points something out that needs to be changed. There is nothing I desire or fear. How can there be a pattern? Questioner, well, surely you will die. Maharaj, life will escape, the body will die, but it will not affect me in the least. Beyond space-time I am, uncaused, uncausing, yet the very matrix of existence. Questioner, may I be permitted to ask, how did you arrive at your present condition? Maharaj, my teacher told me to hold on to the sense I am tenaciously and not to swerve from it, for even a moment. I did my best to follow his advice, and in a comparatively short time, I realized within myself the truth of his teaching. All I did was to remember his teaching, his face, his words, constantly. This brought an end to the mind. In the stillness of the mind, I saw myself as I am, unbound. Right? There it is, right there. In the silence of the mind. This is so perfect here. In the stillness of the mind, I saw myself as I am. You see, so all of our practices are for that, so that we can have that moment in the stillness of our mind. And it's that moment of stillness that reveals our truth. Not the things that we had to practice that made the mind still. That's often what we think. We think we do our practices in order to realize something that comes out of our practice. No, we do our practices so that the mind can reach this moment of stillness in which knowing can become apparent, right? In which what we are can be, that which is obvious can become apparent, so that we can see the truth that cannot be expressed to us, so that we can see what we are, because the mind has never been able to tell us. And that's what has kept us so confused. We believed the particulars. We never found the stillness that revealed the whole. So my teacher told me to hold on to the sense I am tenaciously and to not swerve from it for even a moment. I did my best to follow his advice, and in a comparatively short time I realized within myself the truth of his teaching. All I did was to remember his teaching, his face, his words, constantly. This brought an end to the mind. In the stillness of mind, I saw myself as I am, unbound. Was your realization sudden or gradual? Neither. One is what one is timelessly. It is the mind that realizes as and when it gets cleared of desires and fears. So it is the mind that realizes as and when it gets cleared of desires and fears. So that's what practice is. It's getting rid of the desires and fears so that you can know what you are. And that will knock your socks off. That'll leave you dancing and humming and being a child for no reason whatsoever, but to know that you are. So it is the mind that realizes as and when it gets cleared of desires and fears. Even the desire for realization, Maharaj. The desire to put an end to all desires is a most peculiar desire, just like the fear of being afraid is a most peculiar fear. One stops you from grabbing and the other from running. You may use the same words, but the states are not the same. The man who seeks realization is not addicted to desires. He is a seeker who goes against desire, not with it. A general longing for liberation is only the beginning. To find the proper means and use them is the next step. The seeker has only one goal in view, to find his own true being. Of all desires, it is the most ambitious, for nothing and nobody can satisfy it. The seeker and the sought are one, and the search alone matters. The seeker and the sought are one, and the search alone matters. So you've already got what you're searching for, so it's not about what you're looking for. It's about the search, right? That's infuriating. The search will come to an end, questioner says. The seeker will remain. Maharaj, no, the seeker will dissolve. right? Because the seeker is particular. It's a force of egoism. No, the seeker will dissolve. The search will remain. The search is the ultimate and timeless reality. Wow, that's a fascinating statement right there. The seeker will dissolve, so that which was particular and which was in confusion will go away. The search will remain. The search will remain. That awareness, I guess. This has deeper implications that I can't really answer right now.
It's like the knowingness, Maharaj, the one that knows, the one that's that's, yeah, I don't know what other word, not the experiencer, but the knowingness that awareness, I guess, is another word, but that'll always be there, right?
Yeah, yeah, in ways that I don't think,
Yeah.
in ways that are not as remedial as they are right now. It's funny because the thing that keeps popping in my head is Brahmananda's statement that religion begins at Nirvikalpa Samadhi. Spiritual life begins at the highest realization, and I think that might be it. It's like
Mm.
that knowingness itself. Of course, here the knowingness is.
Yeah, I think I think in the next paragraph he
Oh, okay,
says
good. Let's
more
see.
about it.
All right. So let's see. No, the seeker will dissolve, the search will remain. The search is the ultimate and timeless reality. Question: search means lacking, wanting, incompleteness, and imperfection. Maharaj: no. It means refusal and rejection of the incomplete and the imperfect. Wow, there you go. Okay, so searching does not come from lacking, wanting, incompleteness, and perfection. No, it means the refusal and rejection of the incomplete and the imperfect. The search for reality is itself the movement of reality. In a way, all search is for the real bliss or the bliss of the real. But here we mean by search the search for oneself as the root of being conscious, as the light beyond the mind. This search will never end, while the restless craving for all else must end, for real progress to take place. This search will never end, while the restless craving for all the else must end, for real progress to take place. One has to understand that the search for reality or God or Guru and the search for the self are the same. When one is found, all are found. When I am and God is become in your mind indistinguishable, then something will happen, and you will know without a trace of doubt that God is because you are. You are because God is. The two are one. All right. So our search is not a search for something. This is the change that happens. It is a refusal and rejection of the incomplete and the imperfect. So it's a neti-neti, right? So our search is not a search for something. It doesn't have a goal of a thing. It is the rejection of all the things that are not, right? Things that are imperfect and incomplete. The search for reality is itself the movement of reality, right? Which is just this awareness, this constant knowing. In a way, all search is for the real bliss or the bliss of the real. Yes, indeed. But here we mean by search, the search for oneself as the root of being conscious. So the search of the self as the source of all, as the light beyond the mind, the search will never end because we are infinite. And so the discovery is infinite. The uncovering is infinite. The expansion is infinite. There is no end to the bliss, to the wisdom.
Maharaj,
Yes.
so how do you compare ignorance and search if they are not synonymous?
Well, because the ignorance is not for the solution to the ignorance is not a particular. And so our search isn't about an attainment, it's about an expansion. Our search causes an expansion, not a particularization. You know, when you're looking for something, you're looking for some particular very small thing, and that answers your quest. What we're looking for may start out with the idea of looking for something that's going to eliminate an ignorance, but there isn't anything that's going to enter to cure that ignorance. Our search is going to transcend an ignorance. It's going to give us a general, not a particular. It's given to give us an expansion and not a something of it. And so it's an undoing and not a doing. So our ignorance is kind of not an ignorance that's fixed by a thing, but an ignorance that is fixed by an abandonment of all things. We are not a person. There is no such thing as a person. The thing that we identify with that is person is just a jumble of restrictions, a jumble of limitations, and those cause us to search. And they cause us to search for a something, right? Because that's what the mind thinks will answer the question. But ultimately what we get is an expansion to infinity, a realization that there was nothing missing, there was nothing wrong, that we were only focusing on something to the exclusion of others, and now we needed to focus to accept everything with no exclusion, as it were, no aversions, no attractions.
Swamiji,
Yeah,
so we should be equally comfortable in the mosque and the church and the temple.
yes. You should be equally comfortable at all times, regardless of any circumstance or condition, because you are not a circumstance or a condition. If you're a body-mind, you're a circumstance and a condition, and the comfort that you're talking about is an arrangement of circumstances and conditions. But as the self, we are the container of all circumstances and conditions. And since we are the container of all of them, we're not interested in any of the particulars of them. So we cannot be comfortable or uncomfortable. We're transcendent. Uh-huh.
Sorry. So one would say that one is the divine will, if he was to kind of look at it in a little bit different light. So there's no personal will, because there is no person, there is no personal will. So
Right.
therefore, all that happens in our daily life and being practical is by divine will. There is nothing particular personal about it.
Right.
So
And that is
yeah.
you.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And so a
Stuff just
will,
happens, right?
yes, well, it doesn't just happen. It's not accidental as such. It is the expression of a divine principle, right? So so things don't just happen. Like we can tell that there is an order to things in the sense that there is some moral implication because we are prompted to fix things that we do that are wrong, prompted to find solutions to situations that we're in that are uncomfortable. So there is a design or a principle behind it all. So it's not just happening, but what happens is, and it is the fulfillment of a divine will. But that divine will has no past or future. That divine will is always a pure expression, spontaneous in moment, from isness, not from a discontent or a hunger. A very different thing.
Spontaneous happening,
Yes,
kind of.
right. It's not in response to a lack, to a hole, to a missing something. Things happen as an inspiration of a principle, the principle of Satchitananda. And so what we're trying to do is not have no will, but to change the nature of our will from one that is constantly looking to fix and fill to one that is an acceptance of what is as perfect.
Hmm.
In a way. So that your highest form of renunciation is contentment.
Right.
Right? So renunciation doesn't have to be an act of getting rid of. Renunciation is simply a contentment in the moment always. I'm fine. No, I don't need that, thank you. No, everything is well. You know. So
The
the
concept
highest,
of evil comes, it's, always like what do, that thing that it pricks, right?
right. Well, the evil is when the particular is trying to exert, when body mind is
Right.
trying to exert. That's evil. That's the particular. That's the small. And when we identify with body mind, the particulars that it asks for are selfishness. Right.
So if you're doing in response to the community or not selfish, then of course then the divine will works by itself, right? Okay. Yeah.
Yes, in the moment you will do what is proper.
Right.
You won't have to come up with a plan or anything. You'll just somebody's
Right.
hungry, you'll find food and give it to them.
Right.
You know, it's just who you are. And so you're just always in the general. You are everyone in the room. And so everyone's in the room. All of their needs are naturally occurring to you. And you, by your nature, alleviate suffering. And so you
Right.
walk into the room, you feel everyone's hunger, you talk to a person, because you are open and you're not focused on particulars, you can see people as they are. You can see very deeply into them. And that's beautiful because it gives you access to what they need quite freely. That's why you guys love senior swamis, when they touch you in that way, when they see your need and spontaneously answer it. That's human nature. That's what we are in our freedom. All right, my goodness, we're past time. Let me